Hello everybody, my name is Poison Ducky, and today we're going to have another Total War Warhammer 2 replay. I'm going to be playing as my classic favorite, the Chaos Army, versus one of my most hated matchups, not particularly this matchup of Dwarves versus Chaos, but one of the worst factions for me just to fight in general. My win rate against the Dwarves is probably one of the lowest compared to any other faction. But overall, let's get into the army introductions. Now, I'll give you guys a little bit of a backstory before I introduce my little cheesy army, I suppose. I fought this guy in the last match. He was playing the same faction. He was playing Clan Angren specifically. And I was very mad because what he does is he puts a box, he puts a line of Longbeards here maybe, or some Dwarf Warriors, a unit of Longbeards here, and he puts a few units of Longbeards here, and he's like right stuck up against the edge of the map. What he does is he puts like maybe 2 cannons, a grudge thrower, some quarrelers, and then some slayers, of course, just in case I get some large monsters. And it's called dwarf boxing, ladies and gentlemen. I was very pissed. I was a little tilted because fighting against that really isn't fun. Now, I may win, I may lose. It's okay if I lose. It's fine. I don't really mind it that much. It's a learning experience when I lose against a good player. But when I lose to something that's very uninteractive and not very fun to fight, I do get annoyed. So I was playing quick play. I got him in the rematch, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw the everything build at him, the everything great weapon build. So in the front line, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of Chaos Warriors with great weapons. Now, this is fantastic. Chaos Warriors are well-renowned, very powerful units, very good for their price. Not only that, I chose the great weapon variant, so they're going to chop down dwarves like no problem. Very powerful unit overall. The Regent Renowned Mirror Guard, you've seen me talk about it several times before. It's a good unit, very powerful. The main thing I love about the Mirror Guard over normal Chaos Warriors is that they're fast. They have a 38 speed with 100 armor. Very fantastic. Now the leader going to be charging forward and being the face of the Chaos Army is going to be Sigvald the Magnificent. Now he doesn't have armor piercing, which is okay because the only reason I choose is that he fits the theme of infantry rush, and he's very hard to snipe. Can't really snipe him with cannons, can't snipe him with bolt throwers or any sort of magic or heavy thunder fire for all that matters. So Sigvald won't die, and that means my front line will not rout from Lord leadership losses. I'm going to have 2 units of Chaos Marauders with great weapons on the flank. So each flank, of course, 4 units in total. So if you see a theme here, it's the great weapon theme, and 2 units of Chosen with great weapons, just in case he brought some hammerers, because you can't go wrong with Chosen with great weapons. Probably my favorite infantry unit in the game, although they're not the best for their price. Very fun, very powerful. My opponent, on the other hand, going to be led by Mr. Beligor Ironhammer himself, the very powerful dwarf that has anti-large charge defense. Really powerful. Now my opponent actually has like a more balanced army. He didn't box this time after I chose Chaos. The first match I chose a different faction, but back in the matter at hand, he chose a bunch of great weapons, which is the right play. He does have long beards without great weapons, which is interesting, but he does giant slayers, dwarf warriors with great weapons, hammerers, the grumbling guard, which is just better long beards with great weapons, and the dragonback slayers, just in case I go more, let's say, marauder heavy. All rounded out with the Peak Gate Guard, Hammerers, Regiment Renown, and just a few more Dwarf Warriors sprinkled in there, and the Miners in the little woods. You can't see them. Well, I couldn't see them. With a unit of Organ Gun. Organ Gun is just a very powerful artillery piece, probably one of the best artillery pieces in the game in terms of just value out of one artillery piece. So yeah, let's get into this battle. It's going to be pretty simple, and I was rather angry. Well, I guess there isn't any hate towards the player. I mean, it's a strategy in this game, and it's to be respected. But I just get annoyed when people use such low, like, boxing, and I understand that it's like, it's part of the game. I just get annoyed at it, and I try to fight my frustrations. And do you know how I fight my frustrations? By cheesing. I suppose this is a form of cheese. I mean, it's a very low micro cheese. It's very hard to deal. As the Dwarves, it's so hard to deal with so many infantry units with all armor-piercing capabilities. You either have to have an army of hammerers or longbeards with great weapons, and those will lose to Chaos Warriors. And here comes the mighty charge. I'm going uphill here, so I'm going to have a slight disadvantage as my units get tired. But you can see the Dwarves and the Chaos Warriors clash. Looking at here, unsurprisingly, the Longbeards are going to be losing to the Chaos Warriors quite handily. Longbeards, it's interesting that my opponent chose Longbeards without any great weapons in the Chaos matchup, because there's very few units in the Chaos roster that don't have just flooded with armor, like 100 armor on just their basic infantry unit. It's fantastic. Now, hammers are going to do well in the matchup against Chaos Warriors, and I believe hammers are more expensive, but look how well they trade. 66% of my health for 50 of yours, and my unit is so much cheaper. I'll take that any day. Now over here on the left flank, I'm going to have a max exodus of flanking units. I'm going to have some Chaos Marauders with great weapons just fighting the Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. Just a normal matchup. Nothing. I believe they just trade out evenly, even though my Chaos Warriors are more expensive. Marauders, sorry. And my Chosen are going to be fighting the 8 Peak Guard. Now, that's a battle of elite infantry. Unfortunately, 8 Peak Guard do have armor sundering, so my Chosen are going to have only 90 armor. And I say only 90 armor. Like, that's a huge problem. But look at the damage. They're going to trade out very effectively, and I believe the Chosen are just going to barely win out if they do. Oh, the Rune of Negation increasing 22 damage resistance. The Chosen might lose that battle, but they do have a Chevron, right, just fighting them. Now over on the left flank, right flank, sorry, we got overflown. Like, his Giant Slayers are getting destroyed by the amount of Chosen and Chaos Warriors just flooding this flank. Giant Slayers are down, and I actually get a flank. I get my Chaos Marauders with great weapons to flank around and hit the Dwarf Warriors in the back, and that's what Dwarfs are very vulnerable to, any form of flanking. So the second I got the flank into this right flank, that was a no-go for Mr. Belegar. Now I'm going to have Sigvald charge here and duel Belegar himself. He is a duelist, so he's very good at this, even though he doesn't have that much armor piercing. And with that, the entire front line, with the exception of this pocket right here, is broken. I take out the organ gun with him getting very little value. It is now routing. And with a Rune of Wrath and Negation, like, ooh. Wrath and Ruin, what will I do? And I'm going to get another rear charge into the enemy. And it's at this point I believe my opponent will be giving the battle. He realizes he's been outflanked, he's been outrushed, too many great weapons, and I'm going to win pretty handily. He's going to, just any second now, he's going to give the battle to me. A little bit more charging with the Peak 8 Guard, with just a few Dragonback Slayers. Can't do much. And let's speed up the battle as everybody dies. Alright, okay. A Pyrrhic victory. My opponent taps out. And you can see in the unit efficiency, I've only lost 428 units, while my opponent lost 500 and started with a much more, let's say, veteran army. You can tell that look at this. Just look at the spam. 4 units of Chaos Marauder spam. 1 unit of Aspiring Champions, because Prince Sigvald can only be in one place or one portion of the army at a time, so I do bring an Aspiring Champion just in case. So they give Encourage, for those of you who don't know. They increase the leadership quite handily and is very useful. So I usually do one flank has Aspiring Champion, one will have Prince Sigvald, and if you guys notice, I brought no magic whatsoever. No magic was needed. That's a waste of money against the Dwarves. Dwarves have such high magic resistance. All of their units are very good against taking magic. The only thing magic would be really useful is debuffing their units, but who needs debuffs when you can completely and utterly overwhelm them with so many Chaos weapons? That's 5 units of Chaos Warriors, 4 Chaos Marauders, 2 Chosen with great weapons, and just 2 units to round out the build. Of course, my opponent tried his best, but the only units that got any value whatsoever were the Hammerers, and actually that's it. Only the Hammerers. And maybe the Longbeards, the Grumbling Guard specifically. Well, thanks guys for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed my little my little salty comeback, I suppose, against Mr. Delabrew. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe if you want more. I'll catch you guys later.